If you enter the Ouka Forest after 3 p.m., you will notice the birds stop singing. That is your exactly 3-second warning to turn around. Because if you don't, the forest doesn't just get quiet, it steals your voice. Deep in the foothills of the Nagano Prefecture lies a patch of woods that local authorities officially removed from maps in 1974. To the public, it's just a protected ecological zone, but to the elderly residents of the neighboring valleys, it's known as the Vault of Whispers. During World War II, a covert division of the military constructed an underground acoustic laboratory here. They weren't building bombs. They were testing weaponized frequency and sensory deprivation. They used forced labor, men who worked in complete darkness, forbidden from speaking a single word. Those who made a sound were executed on the spot. By the end of the war, the facility was completely sealed with concrete. The workers were never let out. Now, almost a century later, the concrete has cracked, and whatever was trapped inside has bled into the roots of the trees. Meet Daisuke. He wasn't a believer in urban legends. He was an urban explorer with a camera and a growing online audience who demanded bigger thrills. In October of 2024, Daisuke decided to find the abandoned acoustic lab. He packed light, a flashlight, 2 cameras, and a high-end directional microphone. As he crossed the rusted perimeter fence, the transition was immediate. Have you ever put on a pair of high-end noise-canceling headphones? That sudden, pressurized pop in your ears where the background hum of the world just vanishes? That's what Daisuke recorded. On his audio track, you can hear his footsteps crunching on dry leaves, but as he walks deeper, the sound gets thinner. By kilometer 2, his footsteps make absolutely no sound at all. He stopped. He clapped his hands. Nothing. The air itself felt thick, like he was inhaling wet velvet. Panic setting in, Daisuke pulled out his phone to record a video memo. He opened his mouth to speak. His lips moved. His throat vibrated. But no sound came out. The forest had eaten his voice. Daisuke should have run, but curiosity is a dangerous drug. Ahead of him, partially swallowed by a massive cedar tree, was a heavy steel hatch. It had been pried open just enough for a human body to squeeze through. He slid inside. The air inside the bunker didn't smell like old dust. It smelled like ozone and copper. Without the ability to hear his own breathing, Daisuke's heart rate skyrocketed. He could feel his pulse pounding against his eardrums. Thump, thump, thump. The only sound left in his universe. He shone his light down a long, narrow concrete corridor. The walls were lined with thousands of rusted metal spikes, primitive acoustic paneling designed to absorb sound waves and prevent echoes. He walked deeper into the labyrinth. Every few meters, he noticed deep gouges in the concrete wall. They weren't made by tools. They looked like fingernail scratches, dozens of them dragged downward. And then his flashlight flickered. In total darkness, your brain starts to hallucinate. It desperately craves sensory input, so it creates its own. Daisuke sat against the wall, waiting for his flashlight to recover, and that's when the silence broke. It started as a low, subaudible hum, the kind of frequency that you don't hear with your ears but feel vibrating in the center of your chest, a heavy, rhythmic thrumming. Then came the voice. It didn't sound like it was in the room with him. It sounded like it was coming from inside his own head. It was a chorus of men, humming a military marching cadence from the 1940s. It was beautifully synchronized, but entirely broken, cracking and wheezing as if the singers had fluid in their lungs. Daisuke frantically slammed his hands over his ears. It didn't help. The humming grew louder, vibrating through his skull, turning into a deafening roar. He scrambled to his feet, dropped his backup gear, and ran blindly back up the corridor, guided only by the faint gray moonlight bleeding through the distant hatch. He squeezed through the steel opening, tumbling onto the forest floor. The moment his boots hit the dirt, the forest curse lifted. He let out a ragged, desperate scream, and this time he could hear it. He didn't stop running until he reached his car parked on the gravel shoulder of the mountain highway. Safe. He was finally safe. Daisuke threw his gear into the passenger seat, slammed the door, and locked it. He started the engine, turned the heater on high to stop his violent shaking, and pulled onto the empty road. For 10 minutes, the only sound was the comforting hum of the tires against asphalt. He took a deep breath, looking at his reflection in the rearview mirror, trying to process the psychological trick his mind had just played on him. But as he approached the highway toll booth, the radio in his dashboard suddenly cut out. The digital display blinks E